John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you. And for those of you guys that don't know what I'm going to do today, it's very simple. I'm going to set up these guys, and this actually is called a patio pickers here. And over on this side, we have a city pickers. And you might be thinking, hey John, those guys look exactly identical, except for the name. What's up? Well, that's right. They are the same exact thing. Only the name is different, so I think they market different names at different companies. Maybe this one's sold at Lowe's and that one's sold at Home Depot, and I don't know which one is sold at Amazon.com. But nonetheless, these are made by the EMSCO group, and these are made in the USA. These are actually very heavy duty. I like them a lot. They are made out of HDPE plastic. And if you are going to grow in plastic, I would recommend that you use the HDPE plastic. It's a very hard and durable plastic that they actually use for water pipes. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to set these guys up and go from start to finish. And the reason for this episode today is actually because it's a very special day for one of my friends. It's actually their birthday. So what I'm doing today is I'm setting up both these gardens for them so that they can grow food on their patio. They eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and in my opinion, the best way to eat your fruits and vegetables is to grow it yourself. Now, these two gardens are going to be a pittance of what they do eat, but it's better to grow something than nothing. So I want to encourage you guys, even if you have a condo or patio, you could set one of these up just like I'm doing today for my friend, and hopefully they'll enjoy it. Nonetheless, let's get started. The first thing is we're going to have to open this up, and I'll show you all the parts, so let's go ahead and do that right now. They got these little tie wraps here that close this, so we're going to go ahead and carefully cut these out. Alright, so after you get the tie wraps off, next thing we're going to start to take this apart. So let me go ahead and first I'll pull off this paper thing. Now this will tell you a little bit about the city pickers or the patio pickers garden. Basically it says it includes a mulch cover casters, which is really nice. You can actually roll this around on your patio or deck, and you can grow a lot of things in it. The other thing I like about this is that this is a self-watering container as long as you remember to fill it up. So especially if you're a first-time gardener, one of the biggest problems that can occur is that you overwater or underwater. And with this, the plants and your soil mixture are actually going to regulate the water for you, so you don't have to. I don't know if my friend has been gardening before or not, but this will make it really easy to ensure their successful results, so they'll be a green thumb gardener the first time around. Let's go ahead and pull this off. As you can see, it just comes with a little shelf here. Now this is for the self-watering. What happens is this whole bottom of the tray that has little legs that this sits on will be filled up with water. And what will happen is the soil mixture will actually go down and literally wake up some of the water at some point. Maybe the roots will also grow through this to soak up the water as the plants need it. So once we take this off, there's a few things included, including your instruction manual. And this is a very simple, detailed instruction manual. Even if you don't read English, and it is all in English, they give you some nice pictures, to figure out how to put it together. Also in this kit, you get a mulch cover, and the mulch cover goes over the top of the patio picker setup to help prevent water runoff or water evaporation. In addition, it can help with, not getting weeds in your garden. If weed seeds drop in, they won't just sprout because they can't actually get to the soil. Plastic, I don't know how long it's going to last, but definitely a cool idea. So next you have a watering pipe, and this is actually just going to sit in, and you're going to water down this pipe, and the water that you put in here is going to go directly to the reservoir on the bottom. You might be thinking, hey John, how do I know if I'm going to overfill or underfill the reservoir? Well, it's very simple. You want to fill enough water through this pipe here until it starts to drain out these little holes in the bottom. At that point, this container will be holding approximately 2 gallons of water, so that should last you a little bit. And it also depends on your climate zone. If you're in a dry desert climate, then it may not last as long. If you're in a more moist climate that's not quite as warm, it may last a little bit longer. In addition, they got the casters. So I like to always start with the easiest thing first, and the casters are pretty much the easiest thing for me. So we're going to go ahead and open this package up and install the casters. To do this, it's very simple. You can just turn this bad boy over and put them right in there. Now we got the casters in, and there we go. Check it out. We could roll it around. If you had a little dog, you could put it in there and roll it across the driveway. Now that we have it built, the next thing is to start filling it. But before we do, we got to put in our self-watering tray here. And then our little water fill tube. This is a standard tube right there. And there's 4 corners that we're going to put this on. And you want to put it in the corner that actually has a little cutout for it. And it's right there. It'll sit in there quite nice. The next step is probably the most important step to building the patio pickers or the city pickers kit. It's to fill it up. And it's very critical that you use the right soil mixture. So in the instructions it states that you need to use a potting mix, not a potting soil. After all, this is a container garden. You're growing in a container, but potting mixes and potting soils contain different and varying amounts of ingredients. The reason why you need to use a special mixture in this, because this whole system works on the principle of wicking. Wicking is like a candle wick, for example. You light the candle wick and the wick just doesn't burn down into nothing. The wick literally sucks the wax up and the wax is burned, and then finally the wick also burns. So this works the same way, and if you don't use the right soil mixture, the wicking won't occur. So things like sawdust and general compost or forest products are not going to wick up like it should. So they recommend that you buy a potting mix and not a potting soil. I'm not very good at reading directions, so I don't exactly know what I got, but I got some good organic stuff so my friend can grow organically. So in that case, I'm going to add things to my stuff that I got, that will encourage the wicking. Some of the things that will encourage the wicking are things like coconut coir or peat moss. Also, I'm going to add some vermiculite as well. So the first step is I need to hydrate, and no, I'm not thirsty. I need to hydrate my coconut coir. So let's go ahead and move this guy aside and bring in the coconut coir. Da, 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 da. The first thing I need to do is hydrate the coconut coir. We're going to basically put some water on this Coco Pro coconut coir, and also I have some Romberg coconut coir from Germany. Now this is the good stuff, and we're going to see if there's a difference in how long these two kinds of coconut coir take to basically hydrate up. So we're going to go ahead and cut this bag open. This bag is designed to basically cut it open and then add the water to here, and it will basically uncompress. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to actually take it out so you can see this. And as you can see, we got 2 blocks in the Romberg, and it's approximately the same amount of size. So we're going to put these in here, and I'm just going to fill it up with water. And we're going to fill it up all the way and put it inside and let it expand on its own without trying to break it up, and we're going to see how long it takes. While this is happening, holy Jesus, man, check it out. The Romberg is already just getting water, and you can see it beginning to grow instantly. The other side, not growing quite as quickly. And let's go ahead and water it on the top, see if we can get this to expand quicker. Now, why is that happening? Well, when I spoke with the guys at Romberg, they said that their coconut is not compressed as much as these guys, so it's going to basically uncompress a lot easier. They also said that when you compress coconut coir a lot, then you lose some of the structure and it may not be as efficient or have the water retaining that we would like. Alright, so now that we got that full, we're going to go ahead and set this aside while I work on some other stuff. I want to give you guys an update on how the coconut coir is expanding. I basically assembled the second kit, got that ready for the soil. And what's going on here is the Romberg stuff. As you can see, it's just literally breaking apart nice and easy. And the stuff over here, also, it's pretty much breaking apart nice and easy. So this doesn't appear to be compressed too much. And we're just basically going to mix all this good stuff together. Now we're going to mix up all the goods. So first I'm going to add in some of the compost. That's going to be probably the majority of the mixture. I'm probably going to put about half compost, so maybe 1.5 cubic feet of compost. And for that we got this stuff right here. Right here we got the Happy Frog, and this is the source of compost that we're using. I went around to a bunch of places and found all the different compost, and no, I didn't buy the cheapest one. Actually, I got one that was actually fairly more expensive than others. In general, the more money you spend, the better it will be, but that's not always true. Nonetheless, I read the ingredients on this, and it has like compost, worm castings, and definitely some other good stuff. So this is going to be the first thing we're going to add for about 1.5 cubic feet or so. A good sign for compost is one that just smells like dirt. I mean, it just has a nice, just dirt smell. so let's go ahead and pour this in. And the good side of compost is that it's nice and dark. I like that a lot. Also, you want to look for one that doesn't have a whole lot of wood chips. While this does have some wood chips, you know, other compost mixes that I checked out for this project had significantly more wood chips, and wood chips can actually rob nitrogen from your soil. So I like this a lot. Nice and rich, has worm castings and not a lot of wood chips. So let's go ahead and put some more into the wheelbarrow there. Next, let's go ahead and add in that coconut. Here's that coconut core, nice and hydrated. We're just gonna put a bunch of that in. Now this is actually some of the wicking material. The other thing that's gonna be very critical, because we are mixing this up myself, is that we're gonna wanna mix it fairly well. You know, you don't wanna just mix it up half-assed and then you have big clumps of coconut here and there. Not gonna be too good. Next thing we're gonna add in is the sphagnum peat moss. Now I definitely prefer the coconut, you know, over the peat moss. They do fairly similar things. They basically are like sponges, retain water. And you know, I don't know which one is better. You know, I personally like the coconut core because it's more sustainable than the peat moss, but I have some peat moss laying around, so we're gonna add some of this too, but not too much. And sometimes it comes in big chunks that you wanna break up so it's nice and fine texture. Oh, it's getting a bit dusty here. So if it does get dusty, I don't recommend breathing this stuff. Highly encourage you to get a mask. So we got a dust mask here. And we're probably gonna need this for the next item we're gonna add actually to our mixture. Right, so that was the peat. Next we're gonna add the azomite, and thank God I put on the dust mask because you definitely don't want to be breathing this stuff. It's fine particulate. This stuff is ground down to 200 mesh. And what this stuff is, azomite, it's basically a rock dust. Now the rock dust contains, I don't know, like 70 plus trace minerals that are now devoid in the soils. So I highly encourage you guys to use a rock dust whenever you can, and if you can find it, it's gonna make sure and ensure your plants taste the best, but also are healthier, grow better, and grow faster as well. So we're just gonna go ahead and open this up, and you know, I'm gonna be quite liberal with my rock dust, like I am in politics. All right, that should do it. So the next stuff we're going to use is this stuff right here. This is called the Volcanic Garden Soil Activator. And this is actually some volcanic rock that's ground up with some other beneficial properties in there. And I had a video on this. If you didn't see it, we're just going to go ahead and add some of this stuff in there. The last thing we're going to add is some of this stuff just vermiculite. And we're going to go ahead and cut that open and just to put a little bit in there. Next, we're going to mix this up, and I just like to mix it by hand. Feel that soil! This is why I love gardening. You can feel like you're a kid again. And if you eat the food that you grow in your garden predominantly, then you will feel like a kid again. We got the soil mix. So we got all this stuff mixed up. Now, one of the things you might realize if you do buy the patio pickers kit is that I'm not good at following directions on the patio pickers or in other things in life. Although, you know, sometimes I do follow instructions, like when it says 55 on the highway, I don't generally drive faster than 70. So anyways, hope there's no police officers watching. But nonetheless, you know, I don't and didn't follow the directions as per the letter on the patio pickers kit, and this is based on my experience with gardening and growing foods. The other thing is, the general instructions, they doesn't actually say to do it organically, and they're recommending maybe things that aren't so organic, including fertilizers and adding fertilizers that are actually probably not organic based on the numbers that they recommend. So that being said, I am also going to add fertilizer to this mixture, and if you do add a fertilizer, I would highly encourage you to use organic fertilizer, because think about it. Whatever you put in your soil is going to end up in your food, and whatever ends up in your food is going to end up in you. So, you know, a lot of chemical fertilizer made from, you know, gas and things like that, that maybe not so good for us. So I like to use organics whenever possible. So in this mixture, what I'm going to use today is this stuff. This is actually Zoom Organics Garden Food. And this is actually an Armory listed fertilizer. It's a 432 and has 9% calcium. So because we are growing in a little container, there's going to be limited nutrition in there, so I want to make sure the soil is full of nutrients so that the plants can have what they need so that they can thrive. So let's go ahead and give it some zoom! So you can see we got our patio pickers bed and all our soil, and we're just going to go ahead and pile in that soil. Now, one of the things in the instructions I will recommend that you do is they say that you want to pack in the corners with your soil mixture. And this is very important. This will help the wicking action to get started. So we're going to go ahead and pack this in there pretty good. And they also say you want to wet it down just a little bit. So we got the corners packed in. Let's go ahead and fill this puppy up. You can see I'm probably almost 8/10 filled up. And when you're filling this, you don't want to press it down too much, but I do want to compact it a little bit, because if you don't compact it a little bit, then over time when watering it will compact on its own. And I'd rather you guys fill it up to the brim with as much soil as you can without literally jumping on it. So we're just going to go ahead and pat it down very carefully and continue to add some more soil till it's full. As you can see, I got both patio pickers filled up with the super ultimate premium organic potting mixture, and now we're ready to plant them out. Now, in the instruction manual, they recommend you could plant like 1 row down the middle, or 2 rows, or even 3 rows, 1, 2, and 3. And if you know me, I definitely like to maximize the amount of food that I'm growing, and I'm going to be doing the same here today in these planters. So I think when I come to planting out a bed, whether it's a raised bed, whether it's a garden, or whether it's a patio pickers kit, I like to, think of it as like I'm arranging flowers, which I have no experience in. Really, I don't. But nonetheless, I want to try to place things in a way that it's actually going to look nice when it's all fully grown out. Many people just haphazardly, I'll plant a tomato here, I'll plant a pepper here, I'll plant the mint there. And, they don't exactly know what's going to happen when it grows big, because they haven't gardened before. And the only way you're going to learn this is by trial and error, by planting things out. And, then your tomato shades out your pepper because the tomato grew way tall and the pepper didn't grow too tall, and the mint took over the whole raised bed because it likes to spread out a lot. So, what I'm going to do basically is plant some of the larger plants in the middle row, right in the middle, so it's going to have a nice, actually decorative effect and look nice and tall. And then I'm going to plant some things along the outer row that's maybe not quite as large. That being said, what we are going to plant today is basically 1 bed of leafy green vegetables, because I want everybody to be growing their greens. Leafy greens are one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. And today what we're going to plant in one of these beds are some Swiss chard. We got nice large ones to give it a nice bold effect immediately. We're going to probably plant those in one of each of the corners here in 1 row. So sometimes I also like to basically lay these out before I even get them planted out, and just set things on top. Next, we also have some red chard. So I like to plant foods of color. So we're going to plant some ruby red chard in between the regular chard, and we have a bunch of those as well. So we're going to plant 4 of those as well. Right like that. And guess what? We have space for 1 more. So let me show you guys what we're going to plant, and actually I'm going to have to dig it up from my garden. We're here in my garden, and one of the plants I want to plant as the centerpiece that's going to get actually quite tall, possibly even 12 feet tall, is this guy right here. This is one of my tree-collared plants. Now unfortunately I don't have any in pots right now. So what I'm going to do is hopefully carefully transplant this from my raised garden bed. Now I don't necessarily recommend you do this, but in this case I really want to put this plant in there to make a nice statement. And plus, this is a perennial edible vegetable source of greens year-round. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to very carefully take a trowel and cut a circle around the bottom of the roots, probably going out as far as we can as not to damage that many roots, and really just pick up the whole block of soil around it. And hopefully, if we're successful, this thing will live. And if not, at least I tried. Alright, so you can see I'm prying this thing up carefully. I got basically a nice root mass, and you can see Probably damaged a few roots, but I think I got most of them. This is basically about the size of a 1 gallon, so I think we'll be all right. I'm gonna head over there and plant this first bed out. I'll show you what it looks like. Then we're gonna plant the second one out. And herbs, which once again is the easiest thing to plant, easiest thing to grow, and can save you the most money in your garden. A few episodes back, I had a herb video where I show using some of my herbs in my garden, and that was actually a nice video. Recommend you watch it if you haven't already. As you can see, I've been busy planting. I got this whole bed planted out, and as you can see, I have 1 tree collard in the middle. Hopefully this gets really tall, produces lots of leaves to eat, and also I have 4 green chards at each corner. They're larger, they were in 1 gallons, and then I have some smaller red chards in between. Basically this has 9 plants in it, and this is about the maximum that I'd want to stuff in here. It'll be interesting to see how this one does after it's growing in her patio. It's getting kind of dark here, so I don't know if I'll have time to actually show you guys what I'm going to plant, the herbs I'm going to plant. But real quick, I'm just going to plant a mixture of herbs. I got some nice purple shiso, and I like to mix up the colors and put different colors and not just green plants. In addition, I got a nice pesto perpetual, which is also the variegated. And then as the centerpiece for this bed, I have this guy here, and this is actually a nice Calamar basil that's going to go right in the center there to make this bed look nice and lush. So what I'm probably going to do is I got to plant this out and basically drive this over and get it delivered, and then I'll come back probably once I get it delivered at her place and make the ending shot to this video. As you just saw, I set up this guy, and now I'm going to show you guys the herb bed. It got too dark, so I couldn't film last night to show you guys, but here it is. This is the herb bed we planted for my friend, and you can see there's 14 plants in here. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you plant this high density. I mean, this is actually quite a bit of herbs for this small little raised bed. But that being said, the goal that I had in mind when planting these were so that my friend could grow some of her own food, and that she would continually snip off and use these as they grow. So if she didn't do anything and let them get really big, they'd probably really outgrow this. But if she continues to cut them back and use them as they grow, it's probably going to be all right. In addition, some of the things I planted, such as nasturtiums, will maybe fall over the edge and maybe trail across, the walkway or whatever. Right here in the middle, we have some Calamar basil, which will grow a nice column, so that'll be like the center point of this whole bed. The things on the edges, I got some pesto perpetual basil, which is a nice variegated basil. In addition, we got some hot and spicy oregano here, and we got some mint, so hopefully she'll be clipping this back because this can take over. We got some red shiso here, marigimum. That's marigimum. I can't say that word, marigimum. Here's some bee balm. So the bee balm's an herb. It's in the mint family, and actually I planted this for its beautiful flowers that are also edible. Of course, we got some stevia, which is the sweet leaf. Over here, my friend now has some lemon variegated thyme, so she's got some time, hopefully, to do a lot of stuff and grow some food. In addition, we got some rosemary as well. So we got a nice herb bed here. She'll be able to grow all this stuff. And this is, once again, in a self-watering container, so it's going to make it very easy to take care of. I see maybe some other house plants and plants in here, some of which are doing all right, maybe some not so good. But I set this up specifically so that it'd be really easy to care for and manage. As long as there's water in there, these guys should do well. And as you saw, I mixed up the soil, a really nice mix. So on this side, we have the leafy greens bed. We have 9 plants total. This side, once again, we had 14. That's pushing a little bit tight. And this one, we're doing the same concept. Like if she wasn't going to harvest continually and keep it picked back, I might only do maybe like 5 plants, but because hopefully she'll be continually harvesting, and actually some of this stuff, like the green chards here, you can start picking leaves off it now and start to eat it. And when you're picking leaves off it, that'll actually encourage more of its growth, and also it'll keep it smaller so it won't shade out everything. In addition, on the tree collards, this is nice, beautiful tree collards. Hopefully it's gonna make the transplant all right so far. It looks so good. And I'd probably at least thin out some of the bottom leaves for now and just leave some of the top growth to grow. In general, my recommendation for harvesting crops like this, I'd probably take about, if say I was looking at this chard plant, I'd probably take comfortably 25% of its foliage or its leaves now to eat and consume, and leave the other 75%, and let that grow a bit more before consuming more. The more you pick the leaves off the plant, the less photosynthesis it will be able to make, so it won't actually be able to grow as fast. So there's that healthy balance. You could pick off all the leaves except for 2, but then it's not going to grow as fast. Or you could leave it all and not get to enjoy it and get those nutrients in your body from some of these delicious and very nutritious leafy greens. Now before I go, the last thing I want to show you guys is very important. It's what I got in this bottle. And yes, for you those guys that can see that, it's like nice and yellow. This is my pee, and you don't want to tell her that we're going to pour this on the garden. No, actually, I'm just kidding. I would never do that without actually telling them. But actually, pee is actually really rich in nitrogen, and it's a great fertilizer for your plants, although I don't know that I'd pee on my leafy greens that I'm going to eat, maybe my trees or tomatoes. But what we have in here, guys, is the Boogie Brew Compost Tea. So besides the rich soil mixture that I've mixed up, the other thing I'm going to do by adding some of this Boogie Brew Compost Tea is add some of the biologics. So some of the beneficial microbes and bacteria so that we could get her soil alive, because that is the thing that's missing in today's soils. You know, with conventional fertilizers and things, that basically kills your soil of all the beneficial things. So this is going to enrich your soil and basically supercharge your plant. So we're going to pour a little bit of this stuff on right at the base of each plant so that all these plants can be real healthy. And this was pre-brewed, and it's very important when you're using your compost teas to brew it and use it before you lose it. And we'll have to thank Josh for that one. But this was just freshly brewed. I bottled it up a little bit earlier today, brought it over here, and now we're getting to water all our plants with it. All right, so that's all the compost tea we got. Emptied out this whole bottle into 2 of the beds. The next step is she just needs to fill all these up with water right through the watering tube and make sure they have enough water. I did pre-water them yesterday, but you know, now it's up to her to keep these alive. I've done my job, and now I'm glad that at least one more person on earth will be growing their food too. And if I have made a difference in your life, hey, please post that down below to let me know that I have also made a difference, and that you guys out there in YouTube land are also growing food to me. Nothing makes my day more than knowing that I can help somebody else become healthier and grow their own food today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode learning how to set up these patio pickers or city pickers. They're really simple, real easy, and you can do it. And this video could hopefully help you guys. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and keep on growing. 1/3 or a little bit